Welcome to the RegenBiome podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Gene Felix Turcotte, a certified integrative health practitioner, level 1 and 2, certified in blood chemistry and functional lab testing. I love helping people with GI issues, weight loss, mold exposure, heavy metals, mysterious problems, and health optimization. I love helping people get to the root cause of their health struggles and simplify healing. Ready to transform your health? Go to RegenBiome.com and click book a call. All the support is greatly appreciated. If you enjoy, please write a 5-star review on iTunes or the platform of your choice. Enjoy the podcast and please share this with anyone that this would help. Welcome everyone to the RegenBiome podcast. Today's episode, I have an incredible guest, Robby from the company Therasage, which is dear to my heart. It's been part of my, been using a lot of their products throughout for the past 2 years now, especially the sauna. So we're going to have a great conversation about infrared heat as well, sauna, EMF, and parasite, mold, Lyme, all of these different things that I touch base in environmental pollutants. So welcome, Rob, to the podcast.
Wow, thank you so much for having me. It's really an honor. We travel around and we do podcasts from all over the world. And when I get guys like you that want to bring me on and I can touch your community, I'm just so honored. So thank you for having us.
Well, thank you. No, thank you for coming. And it's great to have you. It just, I think we connected about 2 years ago, I think in the beginning of my startup of my company as well. And how I had a lot of questions around the sauna, because there's so many companies out there. You can purchase basically anything on Amazon. And so I always wanted to provide the highest quality for my clients, for my followers as well. And so, maybe you could share a little bit of your backstory as to, because you are the maker of all the products at Therasage, and kind of know where does Therasage come from. So if you want to share.
Interesting. I guess the short answer, it's really divinely driven, but our backstory is kind of interesting. I am the device developer and the co-founder of the company, and I focus on device development and also the healthcare applications and integration. So for us as a company, we think it's important not just to deliver a great device and an affordable device, a really good value, get it to you on time, but also to sort of instruct you as to how to use our device so you get your result, get an optimal result. As a device developer, and we do conventions, and now the world is a little bit more virtual. I love these podcasts and the different summits that we do because we get a chance to touch a lot of people in one interview. And that's kind of important for us because we want people to understand that there are affordable choices to allow people to actually manage more of their health challenges rather than going to Health Canada or in the US going to hospital or something like that. They're able to actually take more interest and control over their health journey. And we're kind of living in an environment now in a world where it's a little bit more open, a little more free. I think that the challenges and the restrictions with COVID gave people an opportunity to kind of take a look at the current healthcare systems and what they can do to support their own family unit from a primal level. And so our company is a solution site. We're about a little less than 25 years now. And it came on the back of my oldest child, my daughter, contracted Lyme disease. And when she got sick, I have a healthcare background, engineering, business, and health sciences and so forth. And kind of took all my skill sets, organized a trip to China, spent a better part of 3 months on the first trip, visited 65 factories, and started developing devices that would support my daughter's healthcare, really not knowing at that point how widespread or pandemic, in a sense, the whole Lyme disease challenges. It doesn't get top headlines. And the reason why that is, frankly, is because it's a very misunderstood disease. It mimics many other diseases. And so, for instance, you could be diagnosed, have the symptoms of MS, but it really be Lyme. And the worst combination is that they treat you for MS and they don't treat you for what you actually have.
Right.
And so we're very passionate from the Lyme community, certainly from the adolescents, the kids that have Lyme, and that meaning because we lived through that life experience here as a family unit. But in the process, I discovered that, and I was just really unpacked my daughter's symptoms, and she had high levels of toxicity and inflammation. And so when I unpacked toxicity and the most efficient ways to detox, I then discovered that there are wavelengths of sun energy, which is the full spectrum infrared area of sun energy, that actually will mobilize all the toxins in your body. And so that was revelating to me. And so I just said, okay, great. So then I looked at the available devices that people can buy, the average person can buy. At that moment in time, 25 years ago, infrared was just being used by medical doctors in the sports industry to help players heal, lower their pain threshold, and heal from their injuries quicker so they get back on the field and play. So all that stuff kind of intrigued me. That's why I organized the trip, and I went to China and then found a couple of factories, started working with them, and developed some devices for personal use. I didn't expect for the Lyme area or the Lyme chronic disease area to actually expand as far as it did.
That much.
I was really most selfishly developing these things for my daughter, but she had been seeing some of the top specialists in the U.S. on Lyme disease. They're called Lyme literate doctors. And they all had big practices around Lyme, and they saw her success. So they asked me to start to develop these devices for them in their practice. And essentially that was the genesis of our company.
That's beautiful. I knew some bits and pieces of your story, but not the whole thing. So that's beautiful. So really, I love to connect with individuals to that level as to, I think and I've said that previously on the episodes, is I came into this health industry because I was chronically part of like I had a lot of digestive issues. So as your daughter, that was a huge driver. So that's beautiful. And it's impacting so many, so many lives now. And definitely 25 years ago, I can only imagine the way, how these tools were not barely accessible. And now it's really, we have access to a lot of things now more than ever. So I think that's completely something that you guys just delivered an amazing product. So in my real honest opinions, I mean, the Therasage, I have had sauna blanket, did enjoy it. But that was a big thing for myself. It was, I went to the company because a lot of things we hear. So with EMF, how the material is built, is a toxic material as well. So, I mean, I'm looking to improve my health, but also are we getting more toxic by exposing ourselves to different material compounds? So that's what like the bamboo chair that it comes with. It's amazing. It's great. So yeah. And so basically it all started with, so would you say that your sauna is the flagship of where Therasage started mostly?
Well, it really wasn't our first device. The first device that we made was our healing pad series.
Okay.
Then after that, the sauna came in because we were actually the first saunas we were making were wooden saunas, and we still make wooden saunas. But what I did was I went to Canada. I harvested Canadian cedar, and then I sent that over to China. I had it tooled and developed the mechanics and started importing it into the country, into the U.S. Huh. But I didn't realize at the time that there's regulations on woods and plant products when they move from country to country across the border. And so in order for me to bring a foreign wood, Canadian wood, into the U.S., it has to be sprayed with DDTs in order so that the U.S. doesn't get many of the bacteria and the insects that are in the natural, milieu of the Canadian environment into the U.S. environment that could potentially make U.S. citizens sick. That's kind of the concept. So I was so smart that my woods were being sprayed twice, out of Canada to China and out of China to the U.S. So here I am. Basically, our first area that we developed was the infectious disease area, and so I have these clients that are sick that have chemical and food sensitivities. I'm putting them in a wooden sauna, and not knowingly that these saunas were off-gassing and leaching the chemicals that are sprayed by law, into the cabin. So
That's
here
great.
you are detoxing and trying to get rid of your poisons, and your skin's breathing in all these other poisons. So I immediately abandoned that program, and I searched for a U.S. domestic resource to align myself with that made wooden saunas, which was still, this is now, close to 20 years that we're actively working with that group. And
Wow.
And basically, it's just because we didn't have to worry about the woods being sprayed. We're using natural aspen wood in our wooden saunas. But that was sort of our first foray into the sauna business, pretty much. And we had that going. And as I was developing that device, the wooden sauna, I have no ego when it comes to this stuff. And so I develop things, and then I really am an active listener, and I send it out to the public. And then I listened really carefully as to what kinds of feedback. And what I heard when I made my wooden sauna was, really need the sauna, but I live in Minnesota, and I really can't afford a $4,000 or $5,000 wooden sauna. So I said, okay, so there's a price challenge. And then I had another ear. I heard from a client that was on Park Avenue. They had $1 million apartment, but it was only 700 square feet. And so they needed it. They had the money, but they didn't have the space. So I needed to develop a sauna that was space saving and that was in and around $1,000 US, which I felt was a good price level for the amount of technology we're putting in. And that was sort of the genesis or the needs analysis I went through the process to develop the portable, not knowing how popular it would be. And frankly, our portable sauna is way more therapeutic than almost any wooden sauna on the market these days because of all the various different components that we put in. And because I'm not General Motors, like I'm the device developer. When I do my biological research and I see that there's a reason to bring in a new technology or intervention within the sauna environment, I can do that. And then I can test it. We have a lot of different testing techniques in our laboratory. And then after that, we have the public. And that's usually the best test, that I know of, is to just put it out to the public.
I have to say, and I have many amongst my peers, many people have the Therasage itself specifically. But one cool feature, maybe you can elaborate about this, is your sauna it has an actual foot pad that is heated. And so why is that was chosen, and why? Because a lot of saunas, you don't, and then your feet are still cold. And then it's hard for you to have a sweat. So that was a huge different thing when I saw that. And along with the acupressure.
Yeah, it's actually reflexology. Yeah, that's amazing. Yep, that was just another module. And as I'm speaking to you today, my feet are now right on one of those modules, one of the reflexologies. So when I get a little tense or I need to relax during these interviews, I just rub my feet back and forth, and it really actually opens up all of your reflexology points on your feet.
Amazing, because I was not actually making as much use of it. That's okay. Well, okay. I need a little bit more of this. That's amazing. Cool.
See, we discover things every day together.
Well, that's why I wanted to jump on, have these amazing, these little questions answered. So that's fantastic.
Yep.
Awesome. And
so the concept of that module really came from the idea, and this happened to maybe about 8 or 9 years ago, that that I said, okay, I have Jean. How do you like to be called? Jean Felix?
Yeah, I go by JF.
JF, perfect.
JF, it's easy.
So I have JF in my sauna for a half hour, let's say for just general maintenance and feeling good. What other interventions, what other hacks can I stack into that experience that's really going to really move you further along, maybe even exponentially on your journey? And so from that, the first thing that came out was, I think I developed aromatherapy. So you can bring essential oils in, and when your skin gets you start to sweat, your skin becomes an augmented breathing organ. So you sweat out poisons, but you also breathe in whatever's in the air. So if you bring essential oil like, let's say, lavender or basil for mental clarity, or or eucalyptus is really good for opening up your breathing pathways. And so
Mm.
now you can add that stack to the whole sauna experience while you're in there for a half hour. And after that, we introduced ozone to super oxygenate your blood. And then we did guided meditation. You can wear a headset and listen to affirmations. So in a half hour, it's truly life transformational, and it's just a wonderfully great experience.
I know I was actually using the portable ozone and then okay, it's in the drawer. I'm like, okay, JF, that's a great reminder. Keep it out and use it inside the sauna, which is brilliant. I mean, people have a limited amount of time. People living in such like most people still working 9 to 5 and really busy and stressed and you name it. So aromatherapy, I haven't tried that one. That's super interesting.
Right.
So
And then, of course, you mentioned the reflexology. So now you can rub your feet back and forth. That foot pad you talked about that warms up your feet with full spectrum infrared also is a grounding mat. So now we brought earthing and negative ions into the cabin. We also have on the inside, I'm sure you're aware of this, there are gemstones that are peppered in little pockets that are surrounding the internal environment of the sauna.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's natural tourmaline that we farm from a blue zone, an area in the world that people on average live greater than 100 years of age, which is like crazy to think about. So these kinds of things intrigue me. And so I just get on planes and research it, get on planes, go, I want to see this place that people live to 123 years old. And it's not like you think about it. It's not, I don't know how it is in Canada because you guys are a lot more civilized than us in the US. We like to kind of stress out. And then the last years, the golden years when we should be the most active and the most vibrant, we're just couch potatoes watching football games,
Yeah.
So, but over there, like in China, which is one of the blue zones I went to visit, I met someone that was 118 years old. They weren't triathletes, but they were very lucid, conversation, funny to be around, working with their hands, playing mahjong, very active, very mentally aware, very present, which is very different than the profile that you could imagine, being someone of that age. And I said, boy, this is really amazing. What is so unique about this place, this village, that people live to that ripe age? And I discovered that the village is actually built on a mound of special blood orange tourmaline stone. And so those tourmaline generate around 20,000 times greater negative ions, which is the earth charge, than normal air. That's almost the equivalent of the power and the energy of the earth that you'd experience at Niagara Falls. Have you ever been there?
Yeah, I've been there back in oh my gosh, that was a while back. Hey, it's been a while, yeah.
Okay.
2018, I think. 2018, yeah.
Yeah, but if you remember, I don't know how you felt, but it's just a very special place. The whole energies and the sense, the power of nature that you experience in that area is just really very unique.
I would have to go back and see. I know if I quickly recall when we were into the little, not the under those little, oh my gosh, not streets, but like little roads that they build inside the rocks, so where you can actually see the falls.
Right. They do have a tour. They take you on. There are a couple of. I think I see a couple of boats that you go on a boat tour, and they take you like right under the falls, and they actually have a path where you can go behind the falls, and the falls is coming
the little cave, the caves. There you go, caves. I'm like,
right.
I have the French in my brain. I'm like, okay, just came back from Quebec, so I got so much French in my head. But yeah, that's amazing. So because from the blue zone, so what we hear oftentimes is literally it's from the food they eat and all of these things. So I think there's a lot to do with that, but like the energetics from the ground and everything else, it's impactful. And grounding inside a modern home, like there's nothing better than being able to bring that technology inside the sauna at the same time. So I did not know that the pad was actually grounding. This is
totally. Yeah, we ground in 3 ways. We ground from the energies from the tourmaline. We ground electrically. So if the socket you plug the sauna into is grounded in most modern, maybe 25 to 30-year-old homes, that in the US there's 3 prongs, and the round prong of the plug you plug into the socket is actually the one that's tied to the grounding element from the electrical. By code here in the US, you have to have those sockets wired and grounded. And so when you plug your plug in, it's actually that little round part of the plug is tapping into the grounding of the electrical wiring in your wall that goes back down to the earth. There's actually usually they're around 18-inch copper spike that's put into the ground. And so, and it goes all the way up to the roof, so that if for some reason during an electrical storm, lightning hits your house, that it actually hits that lightning rod and goes right down into the earth's surface, not affecting all the electrical currents and your appliances and so forth. That's the way it's designed.
Yeah, it's the same thing here, I think, in Canada. So, that's amazing. I'm glad to know that now. And if when you cover the bottom, so with like obviously I put a towel on the chair, I put a towel on my feet as well, so I don't put any sweats on that. So you still get the grounding effect, even though if there's a towel on top of it.
Oh yeah. Those energies are swirling around and they're covered in the material. So there's actually a resonant kind of energy that's being emitted in the sauna and actually around the sauna, because we actually have employed we're very keen on a low or no electromagnetic fields, but we've actually gone further, and we also shield and block and harmonize for dirty electricity, which is also called low. It's electric currents, electric fields. So there's EMF and ELF, extreme low frequencies. That's electric energies. And so most of the sauna builders and a lot of people that make equipment, they're not that concerned about ELF, the extreme frequencies. But in our bio research, it affects your actual cell or body voltage, which is, our bodies are electric, right? And so our neurological system is all sparked by electricity, low current electricity that brings the message from one nerve ending to another as the message gets passed down from your brain through your autonomic and or your central nervous system, right? And so if your body battery isn't tuned up and isn't properly charged, then that information from your brain to regulate your muscles and your organs and all of your body systems is completely thrown off. And so, so understanding that and understanding the importance of shielding and blocking and preventing all those exogenous or man-made frequencies from affecting your own body health is the difference between your immune system being strong or weak. I mean, that's how deep it goes. So if it were just the amount of these negative energies from one cell phone, then you and I probably wouldn't even be having this discussion right now. But cell phones and wireless bikes and Bluetooth everything and now it's wireless cars, right? Like when you start to add up all of these energies that are swirling around that we can't see, hear, taste, or respond to, then you start to understand that the effects of these energies can be really profound. And if you have a genetic proclivity, like if you have some kind of, what we call now epigenetics, it's just basically the effect of the environment and your genetics and the choices that you make. And so if you're in an environment maybe up by you, it's a little bit more rural. I'm not sure if you're in the city per se, or
I'm in a city now. I just had this question on my mind, because in the basement here where my office is now is like sitting right beside, it's real close to the house power grid, the big panel, and I can hear the buzzing of the electricity. So I was like, and I know about this, and I'm well aware I have an EMF device, but I know you do produce an EMF device, and I'm like, is there something I can do for this? Because otherwise I'm gonna have to move, because I can hear the sound, and I'm like, I have an harmonizer for the house, but from Blue Shield, but maybe there's something else. I mean,
we actually we're releasing a full line of holograms that have more than 200 different frequencies imprinted in them that you can put on your phone or your tablet, We make a home harmonizer that you plug in, and it will clean all the electricity in that circuit and throw a signal out more than 2,000 feet, so
Oh,
that you
wow,
can
2000. Okay.
so that you can yeah, it's only one level. Like it's called planular, meaning that it's only on one plane. So if you have a split level, like if you need one for the basement, then you need one for maybe your living space upstairs, or move the one from the basement upstairs when you're not down in your office, or doing these podcasts and so forth.
Well, this is going to be necessary right away. So yeah, excellent, perfect. Yeah, because I do have a cube, but yeah, I'm always looking for, because I'm aware and I don't like it. So I have the sauna nearby. So when I'm down in the basement, this is what I'm using the sauna, but it's close.
Yeah, and the sauna will, by the way, it just doesn't detox poisons and toxicants, environmental toxicants, but it also will pull the EMF that your body is storing in your tissues and cells. It'll also detoxify you from that.
That's phenomenal. This is amazing. I love uncovering all these little bits and pieces that a product can actually like deliver, because you're not going to hear this anywhere else for the most part. And that's where the huge difference between buying a sauna on Amazon versus buying it from you guys, right? So the quality of the products is just amazing. So,
and we're guided by FDA, so we're listed as a Class 2 medical device, which FDA and Health Canada are very closely related. So we did this, and we got this extra credential because a lot of our clients, we have more than 10,000 doctors that are part of our network. And so a doctor that's worked really hard to get that credential, get that badge, get that, right to be able to practice medicine, that's their real estate. And they don't want to risk their real estate on just any old product. And so we decided to get that higher level credential because we knew that it would be important for the doctor to know and feel safe and secure that they would recommend our devices to their patients in their practice.
That's beautiful. And yeah, I mean, that's really important. So, because I mean, products are coming out from right to the left, and so especially, and then, so you talked about, because I'm a bit into castor oil packs and things, and how can you, and I haven't yet tried your actual heating pad, which I look forward to it. But especially that would be because a lot of people are in the industry, especially in detoxification, which I'm all about, we're using castor oil packs, but a lot of people are using heating pads that emits a lot of EMF as well. So I'm like, are we doing ourselves more harm towards our organs and tissues by actually applying these devices onto them? So
right.
Maybe you
traditional. It's a good point, actually, JF, because a traditional heating pad, they're basically $30 or $40 US. Yeah. You can buy them at Rexall or CVS or Walgreens, whatever the local pharmacies or personal health care companies are. I'm not quite sure of all of them up in your area, but you can buy them there. And they have a 3-foot cord, so you're tethered to the wall. And they do have a copper coil. And when the electricity goes through that copper coil, it slows down the electricity. It raises that, and that coil or that wire now starts to heat up because of the resistance. So it's generating heat, but at the same time, it's generating an enormous amount of electromagnetic fields, which we've already proven in science that it alters your blood chemistry. It feeds microorganisms. So if you have viruses, if you've got bacteria, if you've got Lyme disease, you have parasites, you've got fungus, mold, any of that, the EMF will activate those little bugs. So it energizes them, which means they're using up more of your life resources. They're pooping, which is a toxin, and they're naturally dying off. And they replicate at a much higher rate. So EMF is not your friend, and it will, if you at all have any of those, imbalances in your microbiome and your terrain, which many of us do, because, I'm a little bit older than you, and in my day, when I was younger, you sneezed and they gave you an antibiotic. You broke your arm and they gave you an antibiotic. Like everything was an antibiotic. Well, if you just took an antibiotic once, when you were as a youngster, 8 or 9 years old, even though they're effective in certain ways, they do upset the balance of the microorganisms that generally live in harmony in your body. And imagine if you experience that at your young age, like 6, 7, or 8. I'm in my 60s, and so I've got 60 years plus of my gut and my whole internal milieu being really off balance or off kilter. So my digestive isn't exactly right. And now we've got on top of everything this harmful chemical that's called glyphosate, which is used in the farming industry. And that's now being found in trace amounts in our air, our water, and our food. And that causes the tight junctions, which are the cells that line your GI tract, to start to move apart. So it's like it's like the dike has a little break in it, so the water is starting to leak through. And in your body, that means that there's certain, healthy bacteria that live inside your stomach that are now leaking into your bloodstream, as well as the undigested food in your stomach is leaking into your bloodstream. And the way that your body responds to that is as if it's an invader, like a virus or a bacteria, and it actually starts to attack it. So you have a major mass activation or an inflammatory response, and you don't feel so good from all that. And this is everybody's going to be leaking moving forward. You can't avoid this. The companies that made that chemical, they've been dumping 200 million tons of it every year for 20 years. And it's not just America, it's global now, this problem.
And
so,
go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, that's why the sauna and doing things in your dietary and using something like sauna every day is almost becoming essential in order for you to stay healthy.
Absolutely. And then so you found a lot of benefits in people detoxifying from these chemical compounds by doing the infrared sauna. Because the infrared, so if you can explain, the infrared is because there's wood saunas, there's oven, hot stove saunas, there's all types of different saunas, right? And that's infrared. So maybe we can explain a little bit as to what's the difference, because if I go to a resort or I go to a spa example, oftentimes I was dumping the water on top of the hot stones, and you get this burst of heat that is almost like, oh my gosh, it's uncomfortable. I found my experiences in the past with saunas in general, it was uncomfortable because I felt that my head was going to explode almost. And that's not what I don't experience that with the Therasage, because your head is out. So I can roast at 170 Fahrenheit and voila. I mean, have an incredible sweat and not be, but yeah.
Fantastic.
So the difference
it's a really great question that you're asking. And actually, there's two answers to your question. Well, there's two questions you posed. One of them on the design side, we made it on purpose. So remember my story a little bit earlier. First, we started making just wooden saunas, and now your whole body's in there. But then we noticed that there are certain chronic ailments like Lyme disease, and a very effective therapy is to raise your core temperature to above or around 101 to 101.5 degrees Fahrenheit. So the challenge is that your brain cells are much more sensitive to heat than your body is. So how do I raise your body temperature, core temperature, and not raise your brain temperature at the same time? Well, of course, if you're sitting in a wooden cabin, your whole body is being irradiated and heated. So that's not an option. So that was one of the design considerations, was how do I make a sauna that basically allows your head to be out? So for people that have claustrophobic challenges, so we can give them the visual of their whole property or their garden, or maybe even the TV set on the other side of the room, that's just able to give them a visual, not feeling confined. Also, your head's out, so I can now hit your body temperature really hard without affecting the temperature of your brain. For people that still have metal in their mouths, the amalgams that the dental industry, there's off-gassing of mercury from the amalgams. When you heat up metal, it expands, and then when it contracts, it off-gasses that mercury. So now, look how close your teeth are to your brain. You're actually going to be absorbing that harmful toxin going right up to your brain. Not good. So yeah, these are all little things. And then,
I
I
never
mean,
thought of that. Oh my
well,
gosh, like the brain. Well, I knew about, so obviously all aware about amalgam fillings, but the fact that because you're in a sauna producing heat, I never thought about. I knew about the foam being close, but that's
I
such a good
got
point that you're pointing. Oh,
JF, I got another one for you that you probably never think about. So, you're in sauna and you're sweating, whatever environment. And we're going to get to your question in a minute about the
oh yeah.
differences. But when you're in the sauna, when you're in a traditional cabin sauna, well, of course we see those big sweat droplets that come off and fill up your towel and stuff underneath you and all that. But what about all the micro droplets, the misting in the cabin that also have those toxins that are coming out of you? One of the fastest ways to get things into your bloodstream is through your nose, because it goes in your nose, goes down to your bronchial breathing pathways through a little sac. It's called an alveoli. It's a little air sac that's in your lung that's surrounded by very, very fine capillaries and small blood vessels. And so when we breathe, the air gets captured in that little air sac and then gets commuted through the skin of the air sac in through the little capillaries, little veins and arteries that surround the air sac, and that's basically how it gets into our bloodstream. The air gets into, or oxygen gets into our bloodstream. Well, when you're working so hard to get these toxins out, and now they reside in those little misty air droplets that you really can't see because it's not the big sweating droplets that come off your body. Yeah. You potentially you can breathe a lot of those toxins right back into your body through your nose. So you're working hard to get them out. Having that cabin environment isn't necessarily the healthiest in that regard. What quantity actually you breathe back in is hard to tell, but I do think that there's the potential that you can retox just by breathing in the toxins that are in the air when you're in a closed cabin. So those were really part of the design reasons why we thought it was really important to make a device that with your head out. Now, you asked a really important question. What's the difference between convection heat, which is the kind that you get from a hot rock Swedish sauna that you described, or a steam room is another sauna environment, versus the infrared? So in convection heat, you have a heating element, like you talked about, that you throw some water on the stones and then it gets extra hot in the room and uncomfortably hot to breathe. Most of those, like steam rooms and hot rock saunas, they get up to about between 185 and 210 degrees Fahrenheit. Honestly, like you pointed out, and I would have asked you this question if it's easy for you to breathe in there, and the answer is no, because we're not designed to breathe in 200 degree Fahrenheit temperature. We start to wilt in that temperature. Now in the infrared sauna, and so what happens is the heating element heats the ambient air. The ambient air touches your skin, and it has to be at a really high temperature in order for that heat to penetrate through the insulating fat under your skin that basically is designed anatomically to prevent any extreme environmental, like extreme heat or cold, those influences to protect your insides. So that's the way that we're set up in nature. Now, how does infrared work? That's different. Well, infrared is a wavelength of sun energy. It doesn't heat the ambient air up. It's actually responsible for heating up more than 82% of the Earth's surface. So it heats up objects. It doesn't heat the air up. So it doesn't have to be at a very high temperature in order for it to be effective. Okay?
I got a good analogy. Oh, I know. So is that, sorry to cut you out. So basically when you're going outside for a walk during the day, outside could be cold, but when you're feeling the sun, okay. So I like this.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because earlier on we used that same kind of, you ever been outside just in the park, like maybe having a lunch or something like a snack on a blanket or just on the bench, and the sun is shining, you're feeling hot, your body's warmed up, and then all of a sudden a cloud comes over, masks the sun. Now the ambient air temperature hasn't changed at all, but yet you feel immediately cold.
Exactly.
Because you don't. That's infrared frequencies.
Okay, so this came to my mind. I'm just like, maybe this is a great analogy for people to understand, like a little bit even So perfect. Okay, this is awesome. So that's what's creating it with the sauna. So now the adipose tissue, your layer of fat that you have. So somebody that is, example, overweight, then
It's
it's
even
going to have
harder. It's
a
even
harder
harder for
time sweating.
yeah, and getting that medicinal or the health attribute in those other environments. Now, what's different in with infrared is that it's radiant. It's a wavelength of sunlight, and it's designed basically the wavelength. This is a little technical, but it harmonizes, or it actually resonates at the same frequency as the water inside your body. Well, our fat molecule, that insulating layer, is about 72% water. So now the sun infrared wavelength comes in, hits that insulating layer. It goes right through, seamlessly goes through, because it's harmonizing at the same wavelength as the water inside that fat molecule. It comes directly into the body, and now it's seeking the densest parts of our body. So what do you think the densest part of our body is, JF?
The densest part,
Yeah.
like organs and tissue.
Exactly.
You're hitting me on the spot, but I'm just saying.
Exactly. So you know your stuff. But most people answer, they think their bone. The bone is the most dense, but it's really not. Bone is porous. It's the strongest, but not the most dense. Our body tissues, our muscles, our organs are all the densest part. So infrared sunlight actually comes through that insulating layer and starts to resonate, vibrate in these organs and in these tissues. And it turns out that in the way our bodies are made, that those tissues are also the most vascular areas. And so when infrared frequency comes into the body and harbors and starts to vibrate in your organ, let's say your liver starts to vibrate in the liver, those organs and those muscles are mostly surrounded by your circulatory system, your veins and your arteries. And so that resonation liberates toxins, but it also warms up the organ and warms up the vessels surrounding the organs, creating vasodilation, or they start to expand, which increases metabolism or blood flow. That's bringing more circulation, bringing more oxygen, bringing more food, nourishment, bringing more medication, bringing more supplements. Like, it's giving more exposure to your tissues of all the things you need in order for you to be healthy. So there is so many great attributes.
Which for thought. So with the infrared, does that actually raise nitric oxide?
Oh, totally. But it's the near frequencies do that. Good going. So the red light panels in our sauna and the near frequencies have been documented in science to actually produce nitric oxide naturally. And, for people that are just tuning in, as we start, one of the reasons why we age is because our body starts to make less nitric oxide as we get older. Usually it's like early 20s. And nitric oxide is responsible for two things. One, to create improved microcirculation, and the other is to trigger your blood or your hemoglobin to grab more oxygen when you make it available. So in normal lifestyle interaction, how it happens is one way is through burst training. So let's say you go for a run or a brisk walk or a bike ride. That activity, what's happening? You're using your muscles. You're starting to, work those muscles more actively. Then you start breathing a little bit heavier. Now you've got your natural way. You're breathing more, bringing more oxygen into your blood. You're bringing more oxygen into your body. And then at the same time, because you're working your muscles, you're also producing nitric oxide, which is dilating your vessels, allowing more blood flow, so that blood flow needs to feed the muscles so that you can do the workload like bike or run or whatever. So the mechanism is amazing. Now, we circumvent nature in a way because our lights, the tri-light system, we know that whole process or that mechanism I just described. And so what I do is I use our anatomy and I use our physiology in our favor to do the heavy lifting. So how can I trick the body into producing nitric oxide that will help us superoxygenate our blood? So the first thing I do is I introduce red light and near infrared frequency into the sauna. So those wavelengths will naturally produce nitric oxide. Then I go, wow, now I got more nitric oxide in the body. Now I can introduce more oxygen, which we do through our ozone module. And so now, if you're getting older, I've already primed your blood with the frequencies. Now all I need to do to make this thing really happen is just bring more oxygen into the tent, which we do through our ozone module. And so that's how that whole thing works together. And so as the device developer, I kind of think through all these steps, understand what I need, look at my platform, and then keep injecting and integrating all these other sequences and all these other interventions, because they have a synergistic effect. You could take these hacks and stack them up, and by themselves they're important, but when you combine them, now we're talking about 10xing your experience, which I think most of us are looking for optimal results. So this is where I spend a lot of my time in this kind of research, understanding these mechanisms, and then developing devices that we can integrate into our products that will enhance the body's health and vitality.
That's amazing. Like that, the nitric oxide. So now I'm just my brain keeps going. So I had a friend of mine who went to Tony Robbins' conference recently, and Dr. Rhonda Patrick was speaking. And so by saunaing about 3 to 4 times a week, it reduces your chance of stroke by over 60%. So you have 64%, something like crazy, which now nitric oxide with more vasodilation being released, which a lot of people, as you age, your nitric oxide levels goes down. So I had a nitric oxide episode with a great previous pharmacist. Actually, it was phenomenal. And so because I have genetics predisposition towards a higher need of nitric oxide.
Okay.
So, which is this is genius. It's fantastic. So so the ozone modulator portable one, which you can carry anywhere with you as well, which I like it in hotel rooms in case there's like potential mold spores or anything. But so bringing that in along with the red light that's already in the sauna, which a lot of people like, obviously you can see behind me, I have some red light panels, but it's just amazing the way that you combine this whole thing together and warming up the organs as well. So yeah, that's genius. That's so good. I love it. I love dissecting things and just like trying to really understand the ins and outs. So
okay, understood.
That's fantastic. Sweet. And then my thing too, because I know like with Lyme and mold and sauna can be just super beneficial. And I know you've spoken, I've listened to Freddie's podcast and I was like, my gosh, parasites. I'm like, okay, like there's, everyone does the whole world's going like crazy over parasites, which we've evolved with and things. But I'm like, how could that even be on top of your protocols and things? How can the sauna be supportive of that, especially for those little creatures?
Right. Well, it's just a fact of the world that we're living in now. And, even though parasites, sort of have a negative connotation, they are part of the microorganisms, and some of them are beneficial for the body. Most of them aren't, but some of them are. But they're still part of a group of organisms in nature that we are come in contact every day through our food sources. Just walking barefoot in the ground, you can pick up a parasite here and there. From your animals, you can get parasites that you don't realize, stuff like that. And so it's just part of being in the animal kingdom. They exist, and we're just part of that kingdom. And so what does infrared do? Well, most of those classes of organisms are anaerobic in nature, which means that they can survive on very little oxygen. In fact, when you do oxygenate your blood, then it acts as a deterrent. And so these organisms are kind of perfect in a way. They only do a couple of things. They use your resources. So whatever it is, your food source or your nutrients like your minerals and so forth, they use those because they're living organisms, so they need that. So they, like parasites, they use up the resource. They, in their life cycle, they die off. That becomes a toxin, just their shell of a body. While they're living, they poop, and so that's a toxin. And their main function in their life is to replicate, to survive, right? So in a way, our bodies are perfect hosts or a perfect storm to harbor all of these organisms. So how can we use nature to rebalance our terrain and our internal milieu? Because some of these organisms are really helpful. Like we've got more than 60,000 different kinds of bacteria in our gastrointestinal tracts that live in harmony, that pre-digest our foods. That's like a probiotic. That's what that is. It's these organisms that actually start chewing our food that make it easier for us to digest our food. That's their job. So we want those organisms to be in harmony. So again, back to what they hate. They don't like oxygen. They don't like heat. So what's the sauna do? It raises your oxygen level and it raises your core temperature. So if you want to slow down the progression of the replication, sauna is your best guess, your best foot forward. At the very same time, it gives you an opportunity to introduce good bacteria from your environment to replace the imbalance of the bad bacteria that are taking advantage and causing havoc with your immune systems and your general health and well-being. And so sauna is really great on so many levels, but it is really good in rebalancing your terrain. Of course, there are certain kinds of supplements that are targeted to certain bacteria and certain kinds of parasites and the imbalances there. And there's Cellcore is a great company that makes a whole line of supplements that help with parasite control, and they have a whole protocol that's involved in that. And but using infrared sauna is an integral part on the detox side and also in raising the core, so it slows down the progression, giving a lot of these different protocols opportunities to work, and it improves the efficacy of those protocols if you combine a detox with it.
In combination.
So here's another example. Okay, so one thing that sauna will do is it will improve your metabolism, which burns calories. That's what that would mean. So there's a weight loss component to it. So if you're a little overweight and you start doing sauna regularly, like 3 or 4 times a week. By the way, I love Rhonda Patrick. She's amazing. But if you look at the rest of her research, like 3 times a week will improve the possibility of your health by 60%. If you used it 5 times, it's up to 85 to 90%. And this is historical studies. This is with Baltic state countries that they use sauna every day as part of their cultural event. And really, that's part of my goal, is to kind of change people's thinking here in our hemisphere, to think that maybe we could do sauna every day as a family, and so we can maintain the integrity of our own health, and then maybe we could do it as a community, so then we have more things to talk about, and so we're all on the same path of longevity and feeling good to our last breath. Okay? So I love the statistics, and the stuff that's coming out about sauna use is really pretty astounding to me. And it's so easy to do. I mean, 30 minutes a day can really change the whole trajectory of your health profile.
I mean, you can simply read a book at the same time, and
right.
Yeah, it's great. So it's a great add-on. That's amazing. That's Dr. Rhonda Patrick. She has some great research. Absolutely. So, and so with the heating pads, I'm really curious and see, because I have 2 questions. I'm like, okay, so there's one. So let's address the heating pad, how it delivers the energy of where it's kind of tricking the body. So from previously what I've learned is it's tricking the body. Like, hey, when you apply this to this specific area, because you're wanting more healing, it's telling the body, hey, there's a lot of heat over there. Like, let's time to heal. So maybe you can just dig a little into that. So
that's pretty good. I don't know where you picked that up, but that's pretty good, JF.
I was on Freddie's podcast. I was just like, okay. I love him. Love him. It was a great thing. So
because I have a medical background, it's easy for me to understand how the body works. So then how do I integrate the technology we're developing so that I can use the body resources as we've been intended to do? And so it's not, tricking is a funny word. It's a tricky word. I am tricking the body and our physiology, but in a healthy way, in the right way. So the brain is the master controller in determining and rebalancing your internal environment on a nanosecond basis. So it gets all of these different informational inputs from your organs, from your sensory system, from your nervous system, and it looks at that. And then the pituitary gland, it is the sort of the master apothecary. So it does all the chemical changes. So when the body senses the a change in your blood chemistry, your pituitary gland will signal to the brain. So, for instance, if your toxic load starts to increase in your blood, it goes up to the brain senses that, and then sends you some kind of sign or symptom like lightheadedness, nausea. These are all signs that you're going through detox, or at least your blood toxicity level is increasing. Okay, so the same thing with the way the brain deploys your immune system, the T57 killer cells. Let's say you have 100 soldiers in your army, and you've got 3 battles that you have to fight. The brain has to determine which battle they need to deploy the most amount of soldiers to in order to get the job done. Well, what if you have 10 battles going on? Now you're taking, if the brain deployed 10 soldiers, 1/10 to each of the areas, it may not be effective in any of the areas because they need more soldiers to fight a fight in a certain part of where the battle's going on. Well, what that healing pad will do, let's say you have a challenge with your liver. You put the pad, or you have a challenge like you have an acute injury, maybe with a muscle or a joint. So you got swelling or edema. It's the way the body locks up that joint so it's got less movement. It's like a soft cast. So the brain goes, okay, let's lock up that joint with some fluid while we try to figure out whether it's something that we can fix or it's something that now we have to create a new definition of you. Like now you have to live with that, and we're going to try to do our best to try to give you the right tools so that you can live with the bad joint because we can't fix it. Okay? So now if we take sun energy or we take a healing pad and we put it right on that area where you have the challenge, it's going to tell your brain, it's going to bring more attention of your brain to that acute injury, and the brain will actually deploy more healing properties to that area, plus the healing property of just harnessing sunlight in itself that will bring to that area. So between the immune response and the other bodily functions and what sun energy will do to heal that acute injury, you've got the best of the best working in your favor.
That's fantastic. So I got to get my hands on one of those pads. So I will for sure. I think that's so important and then I'm a fan of PMF as well. And I just saw that you guys just released something pretty amazing because I have another one, a mini one, but I'm looking to have like a full body one because with joints and pains, because with my hemochromatosis, with excess iron, which is kind of part of my other questions, because I know some people can have a lot more like joint issues and things, but so I'm doing really well at, bringing the iron levels down. But the PMF mat, so I found, so that's, maybe you can elaborate because that was just released not long ago, correct? Like just recently.
3 days ago?
3 days ago?
Yeah.
I got the email.
I'm actually sitting on it right here. It's right behind me
amazing.
On my chair. Yep. And it is quite amazing. This is Jasmine, by the way. She's my mascot, and she hears me talking to you, so she wants some love and attention. So she's keeping me warm while we're talking.
That's good. And animals are really receptive to red light and all of that.
Oh, it's incredible.
So they feel it. They feel it.
Yeah, we I noticed that. Like, do you have any animals in your house?
No, I don't. No.
Okay. Well, have you ever in your family?
I have. And I have one of my great friends. I mean, she just got an infrared light panel and the dog just like loves it. And the pad as well too. So
what caught my eye was years ago, one of our little couch critters, like one of our animals here, every Sunday he would sleep like on his bed, his dog bed or whatever. And then I'd get up Sunday morning and I'd open up the shades in the back. Our house faces east, so we catch the sunrise. And as soon as the sun rose and the animal woke up, our dog woke up, it would sort of meander over to the window and then start doing one of these, like kind of rolling around and just basking. And I didn't teach my animal to do that. But what he was doing was basically charging his battery with this infrared frequency that comes from the sunlight. So I thought, wow, like they're so smart. Like children and animals, like that pure response. They're not getting intellectual about what could be going on. They're just doing it because it comes natural to them. And I felt like, wow, if the animal can do that innately, and we're higher up on the chain in terms of intelligence and everything else, why isn't the public gravitating to the sunlight and to the infrared and all that? And then that's another whole, it could be politics, because the cancer doctors say don't go in the sun, it's going to cause cancer. But in fact, it's just the opposite. Natural sunlight, if you have cancer, can help you, and also it's so important for so many other of the body functions that by omitting yourself from the sun, you're really making yourself very vulnerable to a lot of the challenges we're seeing. And I think that explains why our chronic health challenges are so steep, and even with all the billions of dollars we're spending on research, they're coming down. Not coming
Absolutely.
down.
When the sun, vitamin D production as well too, which is a huge thing, which I run genomics. So like myself, I love the sun by all means. Like I'm going to stand in the sun as much as I can, but I'm not as receptive of converting that into vitamin D compared to genetically. So still making sure in the winter, especially in the north where I am at, it's just really, you have to make sure of that. So
I'm way conscious of that. Sure. And the new mat that we're calling the Thera Pro just got released. It's coming in 2 sizes, the regular and the large. And they're very economically priced.
I saw that. I was actually amazed.
It has 9 functions of PMF. It's
9.
Putting out more than 1,100 Gauss in terms of the power. We have red light. We have full spectrum infrared. We have 4 different kinds of gemstones: amethyst, rose granite, jade stone. What's the other one? Shungite. So those stones are in there. It's low EMF. So even though PEMF is a different frequency that oscillates than electromagnetic fields, so it's a little different. So we basically shield and harbor all the negative frequencies, but we're pulsing all the good frequencies in the body, recharging your cells, recharging your body, and giving you the earth energy, the negative ions you need actually to have the proper balance and the proper cell energy to support mitochondria. And so it has red light, it has PEMF, it has a TENS unit in it. So it's actually got an external microcurrent unit that's attached to it. The controller is digital. It's crazy.
I won't name the company. I have the portable one from another company, but oh my gosh, it's not even near close to what this. Well, I'm excited for this. This is gonna be great.
Yeah.
I'm 6 foot tall, so I mean the small one. I feel it's great, but I mean for stretching, if you could do a bit of yoga pauses or like a bit of like pigeon pose or so just like for stretching, for mobility, I think that could be amazing with the PMF and
totally.
Okay. Well, that's great. I'm glad. And then I've been a fan. So we talk about microbiome and your terrain, and I think with the terrain, it's so important, your oral health as well. So, which I've been a huge fan of the ozone bubbler for that matter. So I use every single morning, I will ozonate some water, some RO water with some minerals in it. And then I used to do oil pulling, but I switched to just ozone full time, and it's been great. So I think, a lot of people with a lot of yeast or overgrowth, and I think a lot of gut dysbiosis starts in them out. And so with the ozone bubbler, though, maybe you can elaborate. I love the products that you guys offer, and then it's been life transforming for myself. I mean, there's multiple ones that I use, so and then so to wash vegetables as well when it comes down to microorganism parasites on foods and vegetables, fruits, and whatnot. So Yeah.
Yeah, you can
So
also
maybe like,
ozonate water and drink it. You can ozonate your bath water, and this way you bring that oxygen directly into your bloodstream. If you do that, though, of course you put the device on the floor because it is electrical. You don't want it
yeah.
falling into the tub while you're in there. That would not be fun.
No, no.
Um, and then you just drape the hose. I usually put it down by my toes because when the bubbles come up, that ozone's escaping. And even though it is a relatively low gamma, when you bring it down by your toes, it'll super oxygenate the water. And then again, when your skin gets
Oh,
hydrated, that oxygen is going to come straight into your bloodstream. So next to
huh.
breathing the ozone in, which was the process we described before, ozone baths is a really great way. You can ozonate oil, like a carrier oil, like olive oil, which will hold that ozone for more than a
Oh,
year.
you can actually do it.
Yep.
Wow.
And
I
then
didn't
you
know
can,
because a lot,
yeah,
huh.
that's why we supply two air stones. So one you can ozonate water with, and the other one you can ozonate oil, and you wouldn't want to mix those air stones up. So you notice that they're two different shapes. One's
Yeah,
like a
the
round
round
ball,
one
the other
and
one
the cylinder
is
one.
like a cylinder. Yeah. You just
Yeah.
choose one, you bubble for about a half an hour into like olive oil or some carrier oil. My wife uses MCT oil, and she'll wipe the coconut oil like on her skin when she's in sauna. You can bubble into organic castor oil, so you can do castor packing with
Yeah.
it. So that's another great
So I
way.
can ozonate my castor oil and then put it back into the bottle. Oh, wow. And I just thought about like ozone cold plunge because I just did a cold plunge in my bath this morning because there's a water filter on. Maybe I'm a question. Maybe you could come out with a filter for the bath because this has been the hardest thing to filter a bathtub. I've seen these filters out there, and I know you guys have like a pitcher, but trying to find a filter that there's some that you can hook onto the bathtub thing, and then you can open up if you don't have a whole house water filtering system. So what I do is I use the shower to fill up the bathtub because I have a filter on that, but not the bathtub. So it's been such an issue, I think, because I'm trying to filter the water for the bathtub and not bat myself in chlorine. So
Of course. And we have just recently, like within the last few weeks, we have released a inline shower filter, which is what you just described.
mm,
So you hook that up to the nozzle, and then it comes right down. Or we have one, and then you can put your shower head on the other side if you have a shower head you like. Or we have, if you don't like, let's say you just have you're in an apartment and you have just a regular shower head there.
yeah.
We make a shower filter that it's the shower head and filter all in one, and they're not very expensive. I mean, I think it's less than $50 or something like that. It's like
Wow.
not expensive, and the cartridges, the refills are not expensive, you know. And it will take out particulates, and it does about 94% of the fluoride. I don't know how much fluoride is in the water systems by you, but chlorine is often used in municipal waters to lower the bacteria level, but then your body is soaking in chlorine, which isn't good. So back to sauna, another reason to pull that stuff out of you. But certainly if you
Exactly.
filter it from coming in, that's a good place to stop it, or at least bring that level down quite a bit. So, and I do use the bubbler myself personally. I bubble I use a water pick. And so I bubble the
Oh,
water
yeah,
that
yeah,
goes
yeah.
into the water pick, and then I run it up and down my gums because I was experiencing periodontal challenges. My gums were bleeding and receding a little bit. And
Mm.
so I started using that about 7 months ago. My gums are growing back. My dentist said, nobody's gums grow back. What are you doing? So I told him, do you think that he would tell that to his patients and customers? No, because he wants them to keep coming back.
It's so sad.
So
I know
I
that
know,
the
but that's our
dentistry is
job.
such another, yeah,
You
it's
know,
our job. It's our job.
it's our job, to tell your
Ah,
audience the other things that are possible out there so that they can take more control of their life and not depend on the doctors and the agencies and Health Canada and all these people to protect them, because
I won't.
they're all run by specialty groups. And I'm not suggesting that they're not honest. I'm just saying it's sort of almost pervasive from in the healthcare industry on that side of it, like the
Yeah.
allopathic approach and all that they just have rules and they have to go by those guidelines, and some of them are archaic. And we're living in a world of, it's
Yeah.
pretty, original, and access to internet and access to podcasts like yours, where people can truly learn the things that are out there and new innovative technologies that aren't expensive, that you can do, you can take care of your family and take care of your personal health, and then sort of slow down the process of getting sucked into that whole healthcare system of
This is
hospital
care,
and
yeah, this is the care
clinic
system.
and
I mean,
pharmacology and all that.
yeah, absolutely. It's yeah. So you just convinced me to get a water pick because I've had it. A lot of people with bleeding gums could be low deficiencies in vitamin C as well. Vitamin C is a low. I like vitamin C, but I just like with the whole iron thing. So, but I'm curious to see like with the chelation per se of metals with the sauna and see if because of the ions, if we're getting like the function of it and how that works actually for metals in
Okay,
general.
it's a good question. And the difference about toxicants in the bodies, like in classes of toxicants, chemicals versus, let's say, heavy metals. A metal actually has a charge to it, almost, if you can imagine, like a little magnet. And the body has a charge also. Most of us are positive charged because of incandescent lights and heating systems. And if you live in if you're not out in the country or in the rural areas, mostly you're influenced by technology, which puts out a positive charged particle called a cation, which our bodies are now swimming and immersed in. Of course, you can't see them. They're just, you can't hear them, smell them, taste them, just like EMF, same thing. But yet they influence your body charge. So now your cell, which is supposed to be neutrally charged in order for it to function properly, is actually a little bit more positive than negative. Okay? It's missing the earth charge. And because we don't really touch the earth, now you're probably different, JF, because if it wasn't winter, you'd probably have your shoes kicked off, going out, hugging oak trees and walking on the grass. But most people don't realize that you need to touch the earth in order for you to get that charge. You need the earthing effect. And there's earthing technology and grounding technology. And that's why it's developed, because in our modern societies, in our modern living experiences, we're cutting ourselves off from that connection to the earth. Okay. And so our bodies are imbalanced in terms of the charge. Now, that allows a heavy metal to come into our body through our food, through our water, stuff like that. And now we've got this metal that's got a charge that's a a negative charge. And then you have, the body's positive charge, the metal will be negative charge, so they attract. Okay. And then what happens is that we bring in the infrared frequencies from the sauna. It breaks the covalent bond, which is the bond between the positive and negative charge that keeps these metals attracted to our bodies, right? And now that heavy metal flows into your bloodstream. So now we've got a metal that's got a charge. And that's why I love using certain binders like Cellcore binders, because they have a carbon particle that's charged, that's a stronger charge than your body charge. So now we've got a magnet, which is that carbon particle, that binder. And if you introduce the binder, it's a protocol. When you introduce the binder along with the sauna, we're mobilizing the toxin. It's now free in your bloodstream. And rather than being reattracted or retoxing to your body, maybe in the same place or a different place, it's now going to be attracted to the binder. And then your body will evacuate the binder. So that's the best way to chelate and get your heavy metals out, which might be very important to you.
Oh, absolutely. And I know, like with Cellcore binders, I'm a fan of carboxy or HMAT binders, great for heavy metals. So, It's part of my arsenal, iodine and all these things for myself. So,
fantastic.
Making sure your minerals, right? So that's the important thing with sweating as well. And we have to remineralize ourselves as well too, right? So,
and electrolytes and trace
pre and
minerals.
post, pre-post sauna, really important. So that's amazing.
Yeah,
wow, that's awesome. So I'm glad that we touched base pretty much everything. Almost, I would say is there any new things coming out in the near future that you're anticipating, or
well,
because I know
we have some. You have to stay tuned, JF, because we have some amazing. Like we just introduced the TheraPro. On the first day of introduction, we already sold out of the first allocation that we built, which was
Wow.
not surprised. We have the shower filters, both the inline and the actual filter itself that we released. What else? We are introducing a whole line of on-body patches that have their holograms, so you can put them on different acupuncture points, and we'll show you where they are. That's going to help you with sleep, help you build your immune system, help your mitochondria. I mean, like we have different ones that do different things, but it's going to be super cool because again, we did actually about a month ago. We released a insole that you put inside your sneaker or your shoe.
Yeah, I saw that.
It gives you like a grounding effect and it'll keep you energized. If you're standing all day, or if you're an athlete and you put one of these into your shoes, you're going to be more energized. You're going to be more grounded, and it also helps build and support your immune system, lower pain thresholds. So for all the pro athletes that are listening, get a pair of these Therasols. Because it's going to change. You're like going to be able to work out and play your sport almost tirelessly and more intensely when you're wearing these insoles.
And is it so because they're patches, but they're not like grounding patches touching the ground like some of the ones there are straps or
right? No. These patches hold the frequency of the earth in them. They're imprinted in the patch, so you don't have to even touch the earth. When you have it on it, it's radiating the same charge as the earth, so it gives you that same grounding and earthing effect.
Okay. And so are those like replaceable all the time, or it's just the one?
No.
Okay.
Well, the insole, you just buy a pair, and unless you throw your sneakers into a fire, they're going to last for a really long time. We make cell chips, so you can put them on your cell phone or you can put them on your tablet, protect you there. We make ones for your network, a hologram that you can put on your network so that it protects your house. We make now a home harmonizer that's on our website. We've just improved that technology. And the on-body stuff is actually, I shouldn't have even been talking about it. So you guys that are listening, we're just finishing the final touches on it. But it won't be released for another 3 or 4 weeks. So this is just in the wings.
That's exciting.
Fantastic. You know what, JF? We came out with a food freshness card that you put into your refrigerator, and your food will last 2 to 3 weeks longer. Imagine that.
Oh wait, because I thought you guys had those little containers as well.
Yes, we do. That's if you want to keep your coffee or your medications or things like that in there. That's good for that. But now we have an actual 6x6 laminated card that you can just put into your refrigerator, and it will extend the life of anything that's organic that's in your refrigerator, like your meats, your fishes, your lettuce, and your produce. So we think that people have a tendency to hold on to some of their food sources, leftovers, and so forth. But it will, and even for the fresh organic foods, it will extend the life of.
That's what I.
So your money, your money is going to better use. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. And with the EMF, because there's so many EMF devices out there, and it's like you said, it's something that we can't taste, we can't see, we can feel. Like some people are very sensitive. Like if you're minerally deficient, it's funny, when my iron levels were high, I was so electrical. Like I was getting shocked all the time. It was crazy.
Well, your body became an antenna. That's what is another thing that's dangerous about amalgams, is that all this negative radiation from the micro towers is being attracted by these metals in your bodies, these implants, all the stuff. So, yeah. I
know. Both my parents still have them and really resistant in removing those. I'm like, it's I know it's any mouth work, it's really uncomfortable. So I don't enjoy much of it, but excellent. So with the EMF, because now it works on one level, so the way so it does not block or shield, it harmonizes. That correct?
Well, we do block and we do shield, but we also harmonize, and nobody's doing that. So we're probably 4 or 5 years ahead on that one, frankly. But harmonizing is generating a signal that supports your natural energy field. And when you're in the sauna, there's essentially a bubble that's around 3 meters, so 9 feet around you, around in front, that's protecting you from any of these bad signals that are in your home. Plus, it also allows the sauna to pull out any of the EMF that your cells and your tissues are storing in your body. So it enables you to lower that electrical charge. EMF is another toxin. Even though you can't see it, we view it as another toxin because your body will hold it, just like a heavy metal or a chemical that you're getting in. Those tissues will hold it, and if it will hold it, and it will affect your immune system in some way by suppressing your immune system, then we view that as another stressor and just another toxin, even though it's not chemical and it's not metal. It is another toxin in our view.
Yeah.
And so we think that that's important, not only to be able to have devices and technology that'll pull the toxins out of your body, but also to filter and protect your body from actually being exposed to it from the get-go. And so initially when I developed it, it was all about the sauna and all about the healing pads so that we could create a healthier, from a building biology point of view, a healthier environment for the using of those devices. But it became so important as a category, we broke it out. And now we make these on-body patches and these devices that you can put on your device, on your cell phones and all that stuff. We make one for the car. So you have an electric car. You're sitting on a battery. Imagine what kind of electromagnetic field is coming off of that battery. The Tesla is an amazing car. But the battery, you're basically sitting on top of that battery.
Yeah.
Don't
sit in.
Yeah.
Sitting in it while charging. While charging. I think it was Dr. Ben Lynch. I saw it was great share that he mentioned about it. But when it is charging, to go for a while. Like don't. It's the EMFs are incredible. So I'm like, okay. So you have these patches though for the car itself too. So.
Right. So we developed this whole line initially for just our devices, but then as the world turns or as technology advances, we started to see the advancement in many of these different areas of wireless everything, right? Wireless devices. And then just recently, over the last year or so, the agencies dialed up the amount of force of the fields coming from the cell towers from 4Gs to 5Gs. Yeah. What most of the public doesn't understand that for public use, it's 5G, but the government and the military have 7 and 10G devices on the same micro towers that they're sending out the 5G signal. So we are immersed, and they're not telling us that. They're just doing it because they need to be dialed in at a different wavelength than the cell phones are. So they've got their own communication, and they're using these cell towers as a network for them to communicate internally. It might be important for defense, but they're not that concerned about the harmful effects of these energies in the process. It's our responsibility to understand what that is.
Wow. And I mean, it's not, most people are not aware of EMF still to this day. A lot more nowadays, I would say, like microwaves that I would eliminate that. So I don't own, well, I used to, but my old place, I had one, but no, definitely not. So, wow, that was such an incredible episode. I'm really happy that I'm glad that we unravel a lot of things. So I think that's going to be a lot for people to actually tune in and listen to. And I'm sure we're going to be having a further conversation in the upcoming months for sure, year, and then as to what you guys are coming out with. And then, but yeah, definitely with the healing pads, I'll definitely let you know and see how that works. Once I get my hands on one, and definitely the mat, that's going to be something that I'm going to be implementing as soon as possible. So yeah, that's amazing.
Great.
So before we leave, so if there was a word of wisdom, something that you'd like to leave with the listener, what would it be? Something that you'd like to share.
Okay. Well, I guess when I close my eyes, the first thing that comes to mind is don't give up. Okay? It's easy to get beaten up, by political challenges, by the weather, by the dynamic within your house, by illness. As much as that's surrounding us in our world, it's easy to lose faith and lose hope. But then there's, humbly said, there's developers like myself and my colleagues in the industry in healthcare that are coming up with new, innovative ways to allow us all to survive in a fairly tumultuous kind of environment, both the environment politically, socially, and in our physical environment that we live in. And so, I hope today we touched on enough of the categories for people to understand how important some of these devices and some of this technology is to support your health, natural healing, and that they're affordable and they're easy to get a hold of and that they're easy to use and implement so that you can incorporate that into your daily lifestyle. JF, there's countries in the world that every day they get up and they do sauna. They go to community sweat houses. It's part of their culture. We don't have that in the US. I think it's probably the same in Canada. But if you go to the Ukraine, you go to the, Central Europe, or you go to like the Baltic states like Holland, Finland, Sweden. I mean, this is part of their culture. They grew up that way. It's not foreign. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to a sweat house. And when they go, and Native Americans, they go to sweat lodges. This is all part of. It's not just for medicinal health purposes, and they're not waiting until they get sick. They actually practice healthcare incrementally every single day through movement, through the foods that they eat. In China, every quarter they change their diet, their whole menu, because food to them is a tonic that feeds their organs. So the quarter before, let's say during winter now, when people don't realize it. People don't realize it, but we hibernate. Yeah. We eat different foods during the winter. We wear different clothes. We're not as active. So imagine the bear. What does he do? He goes to sleep for the winter, right? He stores all this fat. He eats all this food so that he can sleep. And so his metabolism slows down. And it's the same thing for us on a different scale, of course. So we still have to be active, but things slow down during wintertime in terms of your body, right? And so that makes us all a little bit more susceptible to our environment and to the things that could affect our health and well-being. And so I want to leave a message that there are guys out there like me, there are companies out there like ours that are developing very unique applications, very modern applications that are using our body's resources to do the heavy lifting that will keep us all in good health and actually allow us to be the way that nature intended us to be, to living healthy and enjoying, finding our bliss, finding our purpose, enjoying our families, enjoying our community, enjoying our religion, enjoying the hobbies that bring us joy in our lives and happiness. That's where I want to go. And if I can provide, just in my little way, some devices that will help you get closer to that goal, then I've served my purpose. And I feel very fortunate that I'm divinely driven in many of the things that we create and that we are helping so many people around the world these days.
Beautiful. Thank you. Great words. Amazing. I think it's a true-hearted company and human like you. Amazing. I'm really always grateful to connect more and more with incredible person globally and soon to be able to meet in person. I hope in the very near future, I'm sure we will. So I will make my way down to Florida 100%. So excellent. Well, thank you so much again, Rob, to have you on. And then until next time, we hope that you enjoyed the podcast today. And Therasage was so kind to give all the listeners 10% off discount code. So with code JF10 at checkout, you will be able to save 10% off on your order on any products at Therasage.com. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to their support team. They are absolutely incredible. They have the utmost best customer service that I know by far, with an incredible fast response as well, and the shipping does not take long. But until the next episode, I wish you all an incredible day. Leave your review, leave your comments. Thank you so much. It's always appreciated. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the RegenBiome podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes because that's what helps us to be heard and to be seen. If you'd like to connect with me directly or seeking private one-on-one health coaching, or if you have any questions about this episode, please reach out to me directly through my website, RegenBiome.com, or on Instagram at JeanFelixCircot_JFT. Thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.